And I'm Clinton.
And welcome to Black Atlantic. We are a podcast, website, and media channel with the goal of bringing Black Canadian East Coast voices to the world.
You can expect to hear from us every week with guests or open discussion, exploring topics and perspectives from all over.
And be sure to visit our website, blackatlantic.ca.
And search for Black Atlantic on all socials.
How are you?
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Even that take wasn't great.
That's because I was giggly, and then I want to say coast and voices.
We're gonna start pre-recording our intros, everyone.
But no one will know. It will just sound good every time. And when you hear that, please know it wasn't live.
They'll be like, they nailed it.
They nailed it. Yeah, no good.
So everyone, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe and all that.
Yeah. And if you're watching, you see I've changed my hair again because that's what I do. And this time I did Fulani, and my thoughts are just being yanked out of the top of my head.
Yeah, your hair looks fire.
Thanks.
And you know, if you missed the afro, go find Clinton Davis on TikTok or Instagram. I brought back the funk last week. The afro so my hairstylist Amanda, she put some products in it that actually, because my sides are shaved.
Yeah, I was super confused.
Yeah, it's really confusing. So we were able to shape it and form it, because my hair is down to here. Form it around so it was an afro. Oh yeah, my hair is like down to here. Form it so it was an afro around my hair, and it just stayed with the products we used. It was all like tucked around.
You could have, like, based on the coloring of it all, you could have convinced me that it was like a perfect fro filter, but I know that AI would never be that kind to Black people. So I was like, how do you do that? I knew it was an AI. Someone
in the comments asked if it was a filter.
Yeah.
But yeah, our hair is magical, like we keep saying, and it can do all kinds of things.
Yep. Other than our hair, you're good?
I'm good.
That's good. I'm good. I've been busy, as you know. Thanks to everyone again who watched last week and saw me just outside. Still a ton of events this week, a couple more fashion ones, and now 2 back-to-back that are for the Sick Kids Hospital. So now I've got my donation cap on, and I'm just trying to be a good person.
Amazing.
That's what's up.
As always, I keep saying, I'm enjoying all the extra sunshine that's been happening. I think I've got some new team members coming on board for the salon spa, which is really great because we've been short-staffed. Been meeting with some friends, getting back into music. My friend's having an event on Friday where he's performing. He asked me to perform, but I'm not going to do that. But been talking about trying to set up summer venues in the city. Finally, we think maybe this could be a city where a mature crowd can have a place to hang out, because that's been tried a lot of times in the past. But with all the new people that came to the province, you have an older crowd with more disposable income that maybe doesn't have young kids. And yeah, so we're trying to figure out the future of Moncton, me and a group of guys. So
that's exciting. That's very exciting.
Call ourselves the Mandem group.
I saw the Mandem get the burgers today. It was like, nice.
Okay, no accent. Okay.
Whatever. Speaking of exciting things, do we want to tell people now about the next topic episode that we have together and how we should be orchestrating it?
Yes.
Because it should be live from Greektown, Toronto, because you're finally coming back.
Yep. We're gonna be in Toronto in the middle of June. Someone's gonna be staying here at my house. I'm gonna be staying in Toronto, and yeah, we'll be recording live again. So for people who listen to or watch the live videos, we got a lot of feedback on that. We're only a couple months old still, but we're growing, and yeah, live videos are always better, and we're gonna be in person and pump some out.
Yeah, we'll have a couple in-person ones, and then yes, I will be house swapping with you and trying to live that brown farm boy life.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, so
country crop berry going alliteration, but good luck.
It's going to be wild. Not only are we going to have a live content video soon, you may actually see a role reversal here. One of our episodes, you might see me sitting in that chair over there and Hillary sitting over in this chair. Hillary living the country life, and I'm back in my hometown for a week in Toronto. Celebrating my daughter's university graduation, taking my younger kids to see an actual city, see what life is like, and we're looking forward to it.
Yes. You want to get into the thing that we do called the podcast and talk about the topics that we're going to talk about this week?
I'm all ready.
Get into them. Okay. So things we will be talking about this week include Not new thing going on, but monkeypox. It's a hot buzzword on everyone's mind, and we have a few things to say about it. Justin Bourque, a name that I'm sure no one from back home really wants to be thinking about or hearing about, which we will get more into, but he is going to be potentially eligible for parole now, and so we'll get into that topic. And actress Moses Ingram has been upfront and honest about some racism that she's been hearing about because of the new role that she has, and so we will be discussing that. And of course, and I think we should start with this topic. It has been, this week marked 2 years since the murder of George Floyd. And I guess I sort of wanted to talk about it because I feel like 2 years have gone by. We continue lately to talk about statistics involving hate crime. There was the Buffalo mass shooting. We've talked about, racism in the woods of Dartmouth and in various places across our country. And I just sort of wanted to have like an open forum discussion about, like, are we at a better place 2 years later, the same place, a worse place? Especially considering, so many people think of Canada as not the place where things like that happen. And we keep trying to encourage people not to think that way, although it happens so much more in the higher numbers statistically there, it does happen here. And so I guess, yeah. What are your reflections 2 years since the murder of George Floyd?
First of all, wow. I think back to the day that it happened. And to think that that was 2 years ago is such a wild, wild thought, because so much has happened since then. A lot of good has happened, a lot of bad has happened, and a lot of things that we thought were going to happen didn't happen. But that night, I mean, if you're old enough and you were around during 9/11, September 11, when the World Trade Center towers got smashed, like, you always remember exactly where you were and what you were doing, what you were smelling, like the lighting in the room, like everything. And yeah, I remember sitting down and seeing it on like a Facebook post, a video, and it was like a clip. It was like a 1 minute clip, maybe a 3 minute clip of the video, and I just sat there. And I know that we had just opened up our business again. It had been a really stressful week. Opened after 2 months of being closed for the first time for COVID. And I sat there and I saw parts of the video, and I got emotional. Like, I think I cried. But I was like upset, and I was just like, why does this keep happening? Because we've been seeing it for years, and it was just like a too bad breaking point. And yeah, like, I had no way to know at the time the impact that was going to have on the whole world, but I just remember feeling it. And it was wild. So much has happened since then, and it's weird. I do think that things, you asked if things have changed. I don't know that things have changed in the minds of people. I gotta sneeze. Bless me.
Bless you. I mean, you muted yourself so no one would have known you sneezed. And you might just take all of this out, but may the good Lord bless you in your time of need, Clinton Davis.
Thank you. Have things happened? There was a whole lot of social consciousness about it. And I think maybe some people learned some things and changed. I think a percentage of people did. I think some people were shocked and then actually maybe ended up more racist than before. So some racism was deleted, some wasn't. I think if change took place, I think where it's been taking place is behind the scenes. Really, it's not like on social, it's not in the forefront of everything. It's programs that are being established, organizations that are being built, businesses that are getting attention that they deserve, or banding together, less prejudice maybe around businesses. But I don't know, like, I think society has moved on in a lot of ways, as we knew they would. But to be honest, I've never even seen the whole video. I saw those clips and I never could go back to watch it. I didn't want to. I didn't see a point. but all I've ever seen is clips from it, and that was enough. It was wild. Like, he looked like people I know, right? So at the time, it was pretty crazy. That's it.
I don't think I've seen it in full at all either. On Facebook this time 2 years ago, I wrote this post about the fact that, like, for the first time in my life, I was living with someone who looked like him, and like rekindling my connection with my dad, and how it felt more real and scarier, understanding like the implications of what it means to be Black in this world, living with the Black people of my family, and finally feeling Black. And at that point, we would have had started working together on another podcast before this one, and I would have been much more curious about my Blackness and trying to find my identity. And so I think for me, it came at a time where it felt more jarring than just watching the news and seeing statistics, because I didn't feel as Black then as I do now. And I remember being like very sad, and again feeling like, despite what I just said, definitely feeling that sense of this continues to happen to us, to Black people. When will this change? Why isn't this changing? I think my big reflection overall is that unfortunately and fortunately, it happened at a time where there was this perfect like pot of soup simmering on the stove of life. If there wasn't a pandemic and people who didn't have the time to sit and reflect, and we weren't all home, I don't think people would have marched in the same way, because it would have been an inconvenience to leave your job to demonstrate, to show that you cared. Had he not been murdered in the exact same time and in the exact same way that he was, I don't know that it would have gotten as much media coverage, if people would have marched, if, you know, and if it wouldn't have been that big, would Derek Chauvin had even been found guilty? Who's to say? I really think that the pandemic had a great hand in making sure that everyone was able to sit down and like look introspectively at themselves and figure out like what does it mean to you to be anti-racist, and whether it was everyone being performative with the black squares or people actually turning up, showing out, shelling out money, etc. It manifested in different ways, but I do think that did have a very big helping hand. And the thing that I've said, excuse me, recently, and I feel more now, is that I think it's allowed for Black people to be more unabashedly open about what we go through. I do think, though, that has then caused white people to be more actively hateful towards us in retaliation. I feel like the statistics of hate crimes go up, maybe because we are being more honest, but it also does feel like white people are sort of tired of hearing of us finally complain and be vulnerable and open about what we're going through. And it feels like it's sort of like we're going to stick it to them by doubling down on our racism, on trolling harder on social media, or, you know, this mass shooting in Buffalo, et cetera, et cetera. Because it feels to me like the Black community is finally done with people's bullshit and done with like letting microaggressions slide, which, as we've discussed, are just aggressions. And instead of being placated, we're being vocal. And now it feels like sometimes tensions might be a bit higher in certain situations. At the same time, it feels like allyship has gone up. Like, I don't know with the George Floyd thing if we would have been asked to help the New Brunswick School District with a Black Histories Continuum, or, you know, Black Lives Matter New Brunswick getting the funding that they've been getting. Even space for our podcast on CBC and the work that we do and the small amounts of activism we participate in. Unfortunately, so much of that has been steamrolled by the murder of this man. I think there's a whole generation of Black people that probably have his whole, like, this very unfortunate legacy to thank, because without him paving this way for so many people who've been trying so hard to do it, I don't know if we would all be where we're at, having these very open and honest conversations and just hoping to educate people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. We do this thing called a podcast where we share our thoughts.
I know.
I'm sorry, the way you said that just made me laugh, but yeah.
these are deep reflections though, and I really think this is the kind of era that we're living in that can only properly be viewed like from the distance of history, to be able to finally analyze everything that's happened in the past 2 years, because a lot of good things have happened and a lot of the scale has been tipped upwards and downwards, and it's like it's like a stock, like it's a fight. Just like when we look back, we'll see like did things get worse or better. But certainly more opportunity to be heard, but bad things brewing underneath.
For sure. I mean, everything in life is very much a roller coaster. I hope by and large it's more good than bad, but we definitely won't know until we're old and gray, but still like melanated and looking fly. And able to be like, no, there was some good in there, or no, it was all shit.
Yep, that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah. Speaking of shit.
Well, leave your thoughts. If you're listening, leave your thoughts. Let us know your feedback, messages, post in the comments.
Yes. Did I send you the article about monkeypox in case you wanted to screen share it, or did I not?
No, you didn't, but I have one. Here, pause it. Oh, wait, hold on. Here it is. Let me just pull it up here.
Thank you.
That's not it, is it?
No, are you going back to school?
Nope.
Okay. My alumni.
How come? Monkeypox in Africa.
So a hot button word, I guess, an illness on everybody's mind right now is monkeypox. If it was going to be as serious as the coronavirus, what it is and what is going on. So from my understanding, with like not a ton of research on like the illness specifically, I think that it's like a painful hives situation that shows up all over the body. There has been an outbreak, however, in Africa for a long time. However, it appears to be traveling now. I believe it was reported today, in fact, that New Brunswick may have had its first case. There's about 4 in Toronto. And so this article on Global has some very great statistics, although I will add to, like, the World Health Organization, the WHO, have said a couple of times that they aren't very concerned. It's supposed to be manageable if you're in very good health, and no huge risks. There have been more than 1,400 monkeypox cases and 63 deaths in 4 countries where the disease is endemic: Cameroon, Central African Republic, Congo, and Nigeria. It's in the same virus family as smallpox, and smallpox vaccines are already 85% effective. So if anyone was comparing this to COVID, we're definitely in a much better place. Earlier this month, Britain vaccinated more than 1,000 people that were at risk of contacting it and bought 20,000 more doses. US has released 700 doses of vaccines to some states where cases were reported. So I think the question on a lot of people's minds, or at least the question on my mind, is if the white people are so worried about themselves catching it, why did no one care about the like thousands of people that have been reported to contract it in Africa? I think we both know the answer. Clinton, what's your take on this before I give my thoughts, feelings, and opinions?
What's your thought? Well, okay, I'll share my thoughts. Limited, but so did you say thousands of people in Africa?
Yeah. So this
since it had been eradicated in the 1980s.
Yeah, well, because there's been more than 1,400 cases and 63 deaths in 4 countries where it's endemic, but that doesn't account for all the other places. And I believe that there's more. I've read statistics where there's more than that number over the years.
We do know. I mean, we can easily call out racism, but it could go deeper than that. It's racism. It's a lack of care. It's the country's having a poor GDP GDP, not having much of a say on the global economic stage, not being valuable monetarily to some of these more powerful countries. It's a lack of care. Like Africa already has lots of other diseases that get ignored. Like that is a continent that has a lot of diseases, and that's hard. But it does always feel ironic when, as soon as it steps foot in our first world countries, then we care. The big question is, why don't we care about these third world countries like we could?
Mm-hmm.
We all know that we could help these countries develop a lot faster than they're being developed, and help them out with a lot of health issues, and help them out with a lot of the problems probably our first world lifestyles have created. Global warming, the environment, ocean levels rising, washing away some of these like communities in poor countries where they can't do anything about it. I'm going all over the place. And then all of that usually trickles back to a degree of racism. Like these human beings have never been considered as equal or as worthy of help. We even saw that in Ukraine, of equality, of being treated like all the other people with lighter skin.
Yes. And I know we said we wouldn't really do this 2 weeks ago, but obviously I looked up another article just to get some more concrete statistics. So it was first reported in 1970 in the Democratic Republic of Congo in a 9-month-old boy, in a region where it had been eliminated 2 years prior. Since then, it's been reported in 11 countries. There was another outbreak in the years of 1996 and 97 in the Congo. Since 2017, Nigeria has had the largest outbreak with 500 suspected cases and over 200 confirmed cases. And cases continue to be reported up until today. So I guess, like, yes, I agree with everything that you're saying. And we do know, of course, that this is some degree of racism, I would say, like a systemic type where if it's not bothering the white people, if it's not in the Western world, we pretend we don't see it. We don't try to help those people until it directly affects the quote unquote white man or the privileged people or the first world people, if you will. But that's such an unfortunate way to act, because it also, we still all live together on the planet. Like, if you want to be racist and you want to ignore the problems of Black people, you forget that people travel and that illnesses spread. And in a world, I won't say we're post-COVID, but where we can reflect on 2 years of COVID and what has gone wrong, you would think that people would be like, hey, you know that illness that we've like seen spreading? Maybe now that we've seen how COVID can spread and how horrible our governments handled that, maybe we should look at the other illnesses and prepare. Yet of course they don't, and they never will. But you would think that knowing that there is something spreadable that's contracting in Africa, you would think that there is a potential for it to come here. There's a potential for anything to come here because of international travel and trade.
I think there's always been a lot of viruses in Africa, and we're not going to pause again to look that up, but
sure,
it also it's always been like this. Like, this is not new. They've always been neglecting,
but it's stupid.
Yeah, and now maybe I wonder if we're freaking out more about it because of COVID though, right? Like, this virus is curable, it's eradicatable. They have vaccines that are 85% effective.
Mm-hmm.
Is this just really media hoopla? Is this just the media trying to scare us? It can be cured. There's already a vaccine. It's been cured in smaller populations. Has it never been in New Brunswick? Has it never been in North America?
From my understanding, yes, it's been in Africa this entire time. This is the first time it crosses into Europe, and now the 70 cases in the States and several in Canada.
I don't think society ever paid attention to like viruses and diseases and stuff like that. It wasn't like mainstream news. So I think people just care now because of COVID. I think it's going to actually all brush under the rug pretty soon.
I don't like that you said that, only because I feel like so many people said that because of COVID, and then we were all like, dun, dun, dun.
No, I was pretty scared of COVID. No. I thought COVID was going to be a menace.
Oh, okay. The one person who thought it and was correct.
I am the only one, actually. I looked it up.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad we're factual on this podcast.
Yeah.
No, I agree that it does seem like curable, small enough scale. I don't want to say anything and jinx anything, but that it does beget several questions. Is this, like you said, a media hoopla because we suddenly care about illnesses? If it's eradicatable and the states can buy some of the vaccine and Europe can buy the vaccine, it then begets the question, why aren't
What
we
about Africa?
why aren't we buying some to donate back to these countries to completely eradicate it if we could, instead of running the risk of it coming into other foreign countries and then just eradicating it there? Like, stop the spread, eliminate it at the source, instead of just curing Americans, Canadians, British people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, every time it crosses into their territory. Why aren't we buying some to donate back to Africa to get rid of it entirely? Because no one cared up until now.
Yeah, I I haven't played devil's advocate for a long time, but
Damn
I
it.
feel like they will do that. I feel like they are going to do that. I feel like it's for smaller. Like, we'll see. Let's see if it gets out of control, because it was eradicated in the 70s and it was eradicated in the 80s. I would prefer to hear that eradication came from the people of those countries. But if there was outside help, then it looks like there are organizations like Bill Gates. Like, is he a supervillain or a superhero? Right? He's donated hundreds of millions of dollars to Africa over the years to help cure these diseases because there's so many over there. At the same time, is he the cause of COVID? like a lot of conspiracy. I don't. I'm not saying that, but there's a lot of conspiracy theories about that, right? Like,
Yeah.
point is, if he is out, like, there are people trying to help people in Africa. So I feel like this is kind of media hoopla.
I feel like it's media hoopla, but
If it was like 500,000 people in Africa have it, then we have to talk and be like, holy shit, why aren't they doing anything?
sure. The concern remains that it did have a resurgence in 2017. And so we have waited 5 years and for it to cross into Western world to care and not try to eradicate it. And if you look at don't quote me on this. Obviously, I don't have a statistic in front of me, but from what I recall, the hundreds and millions of doses of Pfizer, Moderna, all of those vaccines that were being bought to then be given to Americans and Canadians. We have yet to really buy any to send to countries that were struggling at vaccinating themselves. From all of my work at community health center stuff and all the statistics I've seen, we have still very much neglected to help other countries get the medical supplies that they needed to survive the pandemic. We've left a lot of people in the dark. You're correct that we are not there, but historically, we're not going to help if it gets there. That's the concern.
That's a very, very valid concern.
Yes. But hey, maybe nothing will happen.
I don't know.
It's also it doesn't seem to be killing people. It's very painful for the people who are suffering through it. And it takes I think 2 to 4 weeks for it to pass. My concern would be we have no hospital infrastructure. 2 more oncologists have quit Moncton hospitals. They recently had a post that said, don't come to the ER for the city of Moncton hospital, on social media. Just help us mitigate our overflowing and try not to come unless it's a real emergency. So if monkeypox comes while we're still not through a pandemic, where are you are you going to start putting people on the roof? There's no beds, there's no infrastructure, there's no money. We can't have another thing. We can't have 2 things at once. 2 illnesses taking over the country at once, and we're doomed.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the thoughts of ourselves here and keeping ourselves safe. And yeah, I wonder if they could have stopped it from leaving Africa, but it's hard to stop things from leaving continents nowadays with the way people travel. And my only question is, if it was thousands of people over 5 years, would it have been hundreds of thousands of people if no one was doing anything?
Very possible.
Thousands of people in continents of, I don't know how many, what's the population of the continent of Africa?
I don't know, but we
hundreds of millions.
To read that there was only I use only loosely, but 500 cases in Nigeria in 2017, and I believe they have a population of millions. So the ratio is quite low, while at the same time, as we're both saying, perhaps some fear mongering on the case of media, but I still don't like hearing that there's 500 of anything. Like, you would think if you have smallpox or vaccines against smallpox available that help with monkeypox, you would try to help those 500 people eradicate it, as opposed to letting 500 potentially snowball, even if Nigeria has a population in the millions.
I know. I know. They could always do more. I did play devil's advocate with this one, but I just wanted to look at it from all angles. Like, yeah, Africa, 1.3 billion people. I mean, there's viruses everywhere, all over the world. People have all kinds of crazy shit. Like, people, there's thousands of diseases that are documented, and thousands of people get infected with different things every year that you don't hear about. So I think it's media bullshit. I think they're just trying to.
Now it just sounds like I don't want to leave my house anymore, but you're very, very valid point.
Anyways, sorry.
Next topic.
Yep, let's do it.
So if you want to pull up the article about Justin Bourque. So a name I don't like saying, and I know that people don't like hearing. And if for some very bizarre reason you are someone listening to this who does not know who this human being is, so several years ago, I don't even know how many anymore. Has it been a decade?
No.
But several years ago, 2014, so almost a decade. This man by the name of Justin Bourque sort of, it felt to me like, took Moncton hostage, and sort of went on a rampage with a gun that resulted in the murder of 3 police officers. There is a memorial for them near the tidal bore. It made international news. It was a very scary situation to live through. That's one of the things comparable to like what you're saying about George Floyd. I remember exactly where I was during that week. I remember so much of what was going on during that time. And he had been like tried, convicted, found guilty, and from my understanding was supposed to have like a life without parole sentence, which would have seen him incarcerated until the age of like 99, and sort of, I think from my understanding, like times 3, because there was 3 first-degree murders. And then I was speaking to someone else about this, and I know it doesn't exactly say it there. It does mention the section in the criminal code that has changed, but I believe from my understanding it was Stephen Harper who sort of changed it, that there was in a way a level of punishment that seemed inhumane, and so they've stopped doing that. Let me look on my own where it says section 745.51 of the criminal code was enacted in 2011 and gave sentencing judges the power to combine parole eligibility in cases of multiple first and second degree murder charges. So what this means is that Justin Bourque now will be eligible for parole at the age of 49 rather than the age of 99. I will add that Alexandre Bissonnette, a man who shot and killed 6 Muslim people at a mosque in 2017, is also one of the people who has had his sentencing, I guess, changed or combined in a way that he may be eligible for parole. This article that we're looking at from the Supreme Court interviews one of the widows of one of the 3 police officers who were shot and killed, who does say that it does feel like scary, like that she knows that the case is far from hypothetical, and like she had been comforted to know her husband's killer would never get out, and that it was a comfort. I knew that there was no remote possibility of him coming out, which is what she said. And she said she's hugely disappointed in the ruling. I respect the ruling, however, because I respect the court, but it scares me. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, the judge said he gave him 3 25-year life sentences because he killed 3 police officers who were tasked with protecting the public. Mm-hmm. And that's what he felt was right. When we heard that, I thought that made sense. I mean, I thought that was a okay decision. It was horrific what he did and what happened. And, the public needed that. now the Supreme Court of Canada has decided that a life sentence is a life sentence, and stacking multiple life sentences on top of each other isn't constitutional. So the Supreme Court are the people at the highest level of law that we trust to hopefully make good decisions. And is it a good decision? I don't know. But what should a person spend their entire life in jail no matter what they do? I think I can imagine scenarios where they should. But should a person spend their whole life with no chance of rehabilitation no matter what they did, no chance of changing or realizing the error of the wrong to the people they hurt? The answer is a definite no. And as the woman spoke up, the trauma of having to relive that come parole time is going to be insanely painful and detrimental. But what I think a lot of people might not be noticing is that being eligible for something doesn't mean you'll get it. It would have to be up to the parole board to analyze him and see if, after being stuck in prison for, I mean, being in prison is not normal life. You either get caught up with gangs and get really tough and try to survive and try to become some kind of kingpin, or you are so isolated that you work through traumas, or you reassess, you reevaluate your life, you learn, you are educated, and you possibly change who you are. As someone from a community where, you know, a lot of people go to jail for a lot less than that and stay in there a lot longer, in this particular decision, it seems unfair and it seems wrong to change it. But in the overall scope of the Canadian justice system, is there which crimes are so horrific that at a young age, if you do something wrong, there's a zero chance that you'll ever see the light of day again? I don't know if I have the answers to those questions, but if I apply the rule to people outside of Justin Bourque, could shed some light. And again, like his lawyer said, like it's only a possibility if you spend 2.5 decades locked behind the walls of this fortress, doing everything you're supposed to do and not showing your true colors, like not fighting and killing and stabbing people and being like, you have to really show change to get out. So for the amount of people that, like in our communities, that are locked up, this could be good for them. If other decisions have to be reevaluated based on sentences, you hear about people going to jail for 20 years for the stupidest things ever. I think Justin Bourque wouldn't make it anyways in 25 years unless he went through major significant change. And again, the verdict seemed fair at the time, but when it comes to what's constitutional, those are hard questions to answer, and they have to be applied to every single case and not just his. Those are my thoughts.
I have a lot of thoughts. I think that I definitely completely agree that in the question of like rehabilitation versus punishment, where are we with that as a justice system? And I do find it sadder to think of everybody, like, I understand that some crimes are definitely horrific. I feel like this one is 100% horrific. I also believe, from my understanding of the mental health of this person, that there could have been a chance at intervention or rehabilitation before it got to the point of this person killing 3 police officers. And his case aside, I definitely find it very frustrating when we hear of multiple, in, I'll say, North America, white terrorists who terrorize a community, who kill several people, who commit mass shootings. And there were signs, there were people implicated at a school level, there were mental health institutions involved, and the systems fail them. They are released back into the general public, and then they commit atrocities like this. And I feel bad for those people, because I feel like had the system not let them down, maybe all of these people wouldn't be dead, and we wouldn't be talking about 3 life sentences stacked together for punishment. And we could be talking about some kind of rehabilitation or reform. All of that being said, I also, as someone who has like suffered different life atrocities, feel for having to hear your shit rehashed. On a personal level, the past month, like the asshole lead singer of Headley has been on trial, and it has like had a definite effect on my mental health, because I've had to hear about the awful things this person has done to underage women. I cannot imagine being the widow of someone who has to worry about, in a certain number of years, hearing about losing her husband and the father of her children all over again. And worry about the, I hope, very unlikely chance of this person ever leaving. I do believe that like even Charles Manson was up for parole. That never happened. And you would hope that this never happens, but that 1% of fear is huge in situations like these that cause massive amounts of life altering, like PTSD level trauma. And I feel very like heartbroken about that as someone who has gone through something like similar on a very microscopic level. All of that being said, because of TikTok, I've also come across,
not microscopic.
Thank you. Because of TikTok, I've also come across the like criminal connected website where criminals try to connect with people in the outside world and get letters. And again, because of rehabilitation versus punishment, I would never go against something like that existing. That being said, Justin Bourque is asking for very specific type of women to write him letters, to almost be vetted by him as if it's like a dating scenario. That does not feel to me like someone who has taken the time to really reflect on what we as an entire like community and city, and then these 3 families went through. I understand the innate urge to like mate, have connection, find people. But if you're asking for a very specific type of hot woman to write you a letter and send you a picture so that you can like vet that person, that doesn't feel to me like someone who is remorseful necessarily. And I could be completely wrong. I am projecting based on something that I read on this website, but still, I don't like the thought of that type of person being able to ever get out. But you are completely right, and I do completely agree that like people can change. I cannot imagine what spending almost 3 decades in jail is like, what that does to your brain, how that changes you, what that type of introspection does. I mean, I've had intensive therapy for the last 3 years, and I don't think that I'm the same person, and I'm not trying to change like major crimes. I'm just trying to be kinder to the planet. And I can't imagine what it's like spending, almost 30 years alone with your thoughts and isolated. But it gives me a very gross feeling thinking about that possibility at all, in the same way that I feel about thinking about rapists and other criminals being able to be out there and ever enjoy the small things in life. I don't want those people to be able to ever smell flowers again, or have a like warm bread. Like I want those people to suffer. And so I can only imagine what these families are going through.
You're right. I mean, when you suffer that kind of trauma, you have the right to feel that way. Mm-hmm. I just always think of it from like, my comments are not about Justin Bourque, right? They're not about the mosque shooter. I'd be happy to have those people in jail, I think, for the rest of their lives. I don't know them personally, but you just have to ask, is it constitutional? Mm-hmm. If a life sentence is 25 years, how could you stack 3 life sentences? Like, either extend the life sentence, extend what a life sentence is, or have 1 life sentence. Like you can't stack life sentences on top of each other. And what he did is wrong, and he should be in jail. And if that's the person he is now, who knows who will be in 17 years or 16 years? Maybe he'll always be that same person. That's hopefully a parole board does a good job at assessing him. But Justin Bourque is someone who, and this does not justify it. It doesn't justify it at all. But isn't he the kid who witnessed, two white people who witnessed police officers shoot his friend dead just the year before in the Moncton Coliseum parking lot? The cop said he had a gun and the friend didn't. Um, Not an excuse, but what I'm saying is it could have put him into a mind state in which he was completely delusional on what he should do about it. And yet, but maybe 10 years in therapy, 15 years in therapy, maybe he'll realize how absolutely effing wrong and stupid his actions were and become the kind of person that would never harm a fly. I can't say what he's going to do. I'm just saying from a broader perspective of what Canadian law is across the whole country and how courts should operate. Should you be able to stack 3 life sentences on top of each other? I don't know.
I will say that, like, of course, trauma makes you do things that you shouldn't.
It's okay to want harm for someone who,
of course,
traumatized. Yeah,
and
it's not okay, but it is. It's okay to feel that way.
Yeah, it's okay in the deepest recesses of your brain to wish harm onto people who've harmed you. It is not okay to enact it on people who are in the same job but are not the actual. It's not okay to hurt the person back either. But all of that being said, the other point that I wanted to make too, and you touched on this a little bit, is what I find frustrating is that it's a justice, it's a system who has failed a lot of these often white troubled people, that lets them continue down this path where they become terrorists, mass shooters, criminals, and there is evidence that this is going to happen. Then it is our constitution and our justice system that comes and tries to finesse the language and gives them the opportunity for parole, which, like, okay, but it is the same justice system that continues to say that, like, because weed's been decriminalized, we're going to revisit all of these Black people that are in jail. And we still statistically don't, and we still statistically incarcerate and arrest in BIPOC, Indigenous Black people more. So I know that it's like, in a way, sort of comparing oranges to apples, but this justice system is just it's just a mess.
No, it's not.
Okay, constitutionally, we're going to let him potentially have parole at 25 years because that's a life sentence, and we're not going to stack them. But if we've now legalized a plant, can we go back and let them smell flowers and eat bread? If everyone else can smoke weed, half of Toronto is doing it constantly. Can we go back and let those people live their lives if we're going to give this man even an inkling of hope that he can, and 3 cops are dead who will never come back or see their families or hold their children again?
Yeah, and see, when you put it like that, you feel like he should never get out of jail.
Yes.
But yeah, that's what I was gonna say before the episode, and thank you. Like, no, it's not apples and oranges, and that's what it's the same thing. Like, I was thinking of this from a philosophical perspective of what is constitutional. But if you're going to go and change laws like that and backdate them, let every person that's ever had a weed charge out of jail. Like right now, they made it so you have to apply. Even if you're out of jail, you have to apply to get a pardon. It's just not automatically granted to you. No, that's bullshit. I'm saying that that's constitutionally possibly a smart decision, but the whole justice system needs a revamp. It's not apples and oranges. It's the same system. It's the same system that treated mass killers and massacrists, who typically tend to be white individuals, white males. They changed the law of that, saying that's not constitutional. But when are they going to go back and fix all the other unconstitutional shit they've done, especially to Black people and communities of color?
Yes.
Yeah, and all the disproportionate arrest and the charge and the lives ruined and the reputations ruined and the trauma. Like, even retributions would be better for Black people who have been fucked over.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's sad because, like, it's a system that's just, like, failing everybody across the board, whether it's the justice system that's failing these Black people that are still there, or a mental health system that's failing white people who could get help so that they don't become criminals who are experiencing trauma, sometimes at the hands of police officers, sometimes not. Like, whole thing's a mess. Whole thing's a mess by and large. But I definitely, like, I feel for so many people after reading that, like the Black communities, the Indigenous communities, the families of these 3 police officers. Feel for everybody. I feel for everybody except for Justin Bourque, except, like, for a small amount, had he had therapy when he saw another police officer kill his friend, maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. And that's also very sad.
yeah, like I don't feel for him at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel for him at all.
Fair.
Like a cop kills your friend, so even we don't like, so you just go kill 3 other cops that had nothing to do with it. I don't feel like that was super stupid. The question is, can he be rehabilitated over 25 years or not? Because that's there's no brain in that action. Like idiot, stupid, wrong, horrible.
It would be another episode of a whole podcast, but like you rehabilitate that person and then what? Like relinquish them into a world, into a system that still has no place for you. It's not, he's not going to leave and then apply to be on welfare and live in low rental housing and just get re-traumatized by a system that fails those people. Yeah, I don't know that he would get employed. He would have to leave all of New Brunswick. Like it would just be.
Yeah, it's not good to get out 25 years later anyway.
No,
yeah, everyone's
no.
gonna know. Your name's gonna be in the news again. It's gonna be brought up. People are gonna know your
Yes.
face. It's not like, even if you get out, it's not like it's
Not
walking the
desirable.
golden road. Yeah, it's not like it's peaches and.
Well, no, that's the thing. He would be public enemy number one.
Absolutely.
Yes. So
it's either if it gets, and it's, I don't know. It's another 50 years of taxpayer money keeping them in. Anyways.
Yeah, well, it's not like they were going to give the taxpayer money to us or any good places. So.
Okay, let's wrap up with an interesting article, but I think we can only talk about it for a few minutes.
Sure. Did you want to spearhead this one?
No, I don't. Nope, doesn't matter.
Okay. So actress Moses Ingram, who is going to be part of Obi-Wan Kenobi, which like I'm not a Star Wars person, so I know it's on Disney Plus, but I don't know if it's a series versus another installment of Star Wars movies. But she basically revealed on her Instagram story that after being announced, I believe, as an actress on like being added to the cast, that of course, as we know, this is our reality. She received hundreds of racist messages, of course, including the N-word. Some say that you suck, loser. You're a diversity hire. You won't be loved or remembered for this acting role. Some said that like worse things, obviously the N-word. She said that she felt that she could grin and bear it when it comes to online hate. She should feel like she should grin and bear it, but she's not built like that. And then Star Wars came out and said, we're proud to welcome Moses Ingram to the Star Wars family. If anyone intends to make her feel in any way unwelcome, we have only one thing to say: we resist. There are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be racist. Which I sort of appreciate, because it's funny to think that, you know, people enjoy a show about like aliens and different species and different things, that people are taking the time to hate one actress because they don't feel that she either fits the part or belongs in the role, or that Black people should have, I don't know, spaces acting. But what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first off, I'm just gonna like that tweet, because that was actually
that is a good tweet,
even though they're historically a horribly racist company.
Yeah.
Okay. She said something in here that really struck a chord. Well, she said nobody else in the cast had those kinds of experiences. Like it's not okay. It's not normal. It's not like people are wondering, why can't you just like drop it and let it be?
Pause hammer time. That's actually a quote by John Boyega of his racist experience in a GQ article, because he's also faced racism for being in the franchise, if you scroll up.
Gotcha.
But still, like they continue to do this to every Black person in the Star Wars franchise.
Nobody else had the uproar and death threats sent to their Instagram, social media, Black this, Black that. That makes sense. You shouldn't be a stormtrooper. Here's the sentence: like nobody else had that experience, but yet people are surprised that I'm this way. That's my frustration. Like people are surprised when Black people get to their wits' end and lose it. The angry Black man, the angry Black woman, they don't see it. They don't see the buildup. They don't see the reason for being frustrated. Like, oh, just let it brush off your back. It's no big deal. Oh, it just happens once in a while. but it builds up, and then people are surprised that people can become very bitter about scenarios like this. And that's his frustration. Like I was saying about the previous article, like it's okay to want bad things to happen to people that hurt you. He's not even saying that. He's just saying, like, why don't you get how angry I am about this? Like,
Yeah.
my thoughts on this is that, like, what the fuck? Why do people have to go out of their way to care so much? Just like our haters, just like our trolls, just like our stalkers. Like, why do you care so much? Like, why is your life governed by having to try to hate and control what people with melanin in their skin are doing? Like, how could you care about who the actor is or watching the movie or not? How are you so disgusted by black skin that you have to send hate messages to strangers? It is insane. Like, who programmed you like that to be so hateful? 20 million species in the Star Wars galaxy. Like, why are you hating on you're such a big Star Wars fan? Like, why are you hating on your own? Like, Star Wars is typically actually very much so built on the structure. Like, the story is very centered around colonialism, actually. The Empire being like, I don't know. I think it's the Empire being the British, or anyways, it's very centered on like rebellion against
Yes.
colonialism, and yet it's just stupid. Like, why people are so obsessed with issuing death threats to strangers because they're going to be acting in a movie blows my mind.
There's like several layers to it, right? It's often it feels like hating black people just for obviously for the sake of hating black people. Like, I don't understand people who are like, I am so angry that you've cast someone who is not who I thought would be this role, that I have to out loud express my anger at a company, that you've made Ariel black, you've made Star Wars characters black, you've made X person a black character instead of the white person I envisioned.
In this pretend artificial fantasy story world that's not even real to begin with.
Yes. Like one of the TikToks that we have that like has, I think, maybe like 50,000 views was this white man saying that scientifically it doesn't make sense for Ariel to be a black mermaid because the sun wouldn't like heat up the melanin and make it brown, and everyone was like, it's a mermaid. Like, it's not about the sun not penetrating the depths of the water, bro. It's a mermaid. Like, what?
Scientifically, what? Well, don't you know about that group of mermaids that, you know, they like to hang up by the sandbars, and so over time, because the sun, they were closer to the top of the ocean, that the sun did penetrate their skin over thousands of years, and they became the black mermaids. Like, didn't you know that scientifically that's how it worked, buddy?
To be fair, in that TikTok, a marine biologist says that like if mermaids did live in the depths of the water, they actually probably would be very dark because of the way that the ocean is down there, and like
keep them safer, like to protect them.
Be like a blubber hair like thing that would be like blacker than night, but like she wouldn't have seashell bras and be like pretty green. Like, it would be like a disgusting creature. It would be scary because of the depths of the ocean, but it would probably actually be black, probably for camouflage purposes. I digress. The need to be so vocally upset when something is not the way that you imagine it in a fantasy world baffles me. And I feel like it's majority white people who do that. And I could be wrong. There might be black people who are like, how dare you cast? Well, I know people were upset about Hermione being cast as Emma Watson because J.K. Rowling did write it as a black character, from what I recall. And that was actually a miscasting and whitewashing of the character. But unless that's happening, I don't think black people are out there being like, how dare you cast a white person in this role? We're just like, cool. Thank you for producing this piece of art and a media that I can enjoy. I will now go and enjoy it because it's only been so many years that black people can go and enjoy movies unsegregated anyway. Yeah. I'm not going to bitch about who got cast. And like you're saying, it's a fantasy world. Like, it's about a movie in which it's a bunch of different things. Like, why are we caring? And as two people who have to suffer internet trolls on occasion, I just also don't get it. leave us alone. We just want to exist. We just want to make cool things and share our opinion. And if you don't agree, I don't give a fuck. I don't. I will go on record as saying, I don't care if you don't agree with us. Don't listen.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that how we're ending the episode? Because I feel like, but listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
You're not a troll.
Yeah. We can end it on that. Like, fuck you, trolls.
Yeah, fuck you, trolls. And like, and by and large, that specific sentiment, right? If you are someone who listens to our podcast and you're or listens to any media, you're trying to be a better person, you want to be an ally, and you just do wholeheartedly disagree, we welcome constructive conversation. But
Absolutely.
no one talking to Moses Ingram was trying to have a constructive conversation about why she as a Black person should not be in this role, or John Boyega. It is straight up just because someone's skin color, you think they should not have the job that they do or the role that they have. And it's straight up people who think that because we're Black, we shouldn't have this platform, or you're going to innately disagree with everything that we're saying just to try to get under our skin. It doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've both had many opportunities over the years to engage with some of these trolls and people, and some people, you know, that complain. We have dialogue that goes back and forth. We don't agree with each other. It comes to a point where we were like, okay, we're done talking, but I don't agree with you. Or sometimes people see
Correct.
one of our points or something like that. But yeah,
exactly. Anyway,
for everyone else, screw off.
Yeah. If you want to have constructive conversation,
or don't. I mean,
blackplanet@gmail.com if you have constructive criticism. If you don't, leave us alone.
These people don't realize that we hide all of their comments anyway, so they're just taking energy to post on our page, and no one's seeing it but them. Surprise. And
yeah, no, I appreciate and thank you for boosting our algorithm by commenting your troll comments so that other people can see that you're racist and then message me about your racist behavior and how you're a joke.
Which you are. All right.
We're done being sassy now. Thank you for watching and listening and donating if you donate to the GoFundMe, and checking out our TikTok. We're 14 people away now from 10K. It might happen while you're here.
Maybe. Is this backwards?
I'm like trying to do all the O's.
10K.
Thanks. Don't.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.